In the light of the recent situation that have arisen from yet another untalented individual taking the fast and easy way to fame and fortune, I have chosen to speak my mind about the whole situation. But I'm not going to refute or disprove the statements in the movie, since what Gert Wilders, or whatever his name is, have done is basically just recycled old images floating around the internet, ripped out a few out of context quotes from the Noble Quran to accompany them, and that's it. There is nothing to argue because the movie is completely void of facts or arguments, or anything that would open up for any kind of debate. In fact, I must say that I was a bit disappointed over the lack of quality the movie had. After such hype, I was expecting something that would drop down in the debate as a bomb and shatter everything. I have seen many more well-made movies that offer fact-based criticism of Islamism, and they have been done by unknown amateurs and uploaded to YouTube, and this movie is nowhere near those videos. And its unprofessionalism and low standards make it easy for anyone with basic knowledge of society to pick it apart, make all the extreme right-wing crazies that rally behind the movie to look like the fools that they really are. Anyhow, like I said, this is not what this video is about. This video is not directed to the right-wing nutjobs, nor is it an attempt to convince people that the movie was wrong. Instead, it is directed towards fellow Muslims, and especially young Muslims in the West. And I sincerely hope that you, as a fellow Muslim, will take this argument to your local mosque and present it if the debate starts shifting towards the Muhammad cartoons, the Fitna movie, and other lowly attempts of martyrdom and worldwide fame. Unfortunately, Western Muslims cannot do much to influence the reaction and outcome in the Middle East because the protests and actions over there are largely arranged and sponsored by the various regimes, and they have a domestic political agenda rather than a genuine protest that would call for realistic and concrete action. What Western Muslim can do, however, is to show by example how these so-called artists that insult Islam to gain fame and fortune can be dealt with, to the point that they won't do it anymore because there is no fame and fortune to be gained. It is a simple solution, yet very hard to achieve, as it calls for collective action and a fundamental change in attitude towards these people. But it's simple, really. Just ignore them. Don't make a big deal about it. That's it. And this is the situation that these so-called artists fear the most, that they would get treated as the tiny, marginal and extreme minority that they really are. The more Muslims that come to demonstrations, the more Muslims that send in angry letters, and the more Muslims that send in death threats, the more does it benefit their cause, and most of all, their economic prospects. We all had to go through the circus that was the Muhammad cartoons, and what was the outcome of this whole thing? The man that drew the most famous cartoon is now a worldwide celebrity. He will spend the rest of his life flying first class to different universities and art schools worldwide to give speeches to students. He can write a book today and it will become an instant worldwide bestseller tomorrow. And what does he have to thank for this fame and success? Not his talent or contribution to the artistical society, but the angry Muslims that took the streets to protest. We need to put things in perspective here. During the last 1,400 years, Islam has gone through several attempts of annihilation. Islam has survived genocide, revolutions, persecutions, the Crusades, which is the largest and most extensive military operation and slaughter of civilians to date, and we have survived countless assaults and attempts of eradication. And now people really mean to tell me that a bunch of cartoons or some worthless movie on YouTube is going to achieve anything? Of course it won't. This is no threat whatsoever, and it cannot hurt or damage Islam in any way. And for us to sit here and whine about a bunch of scribbles would embarrass our ancestors that fought and died in the sake of defending Islam against a real threat, like the Crusades. I hope that Muslims in the Netherlands will follow the example of the National Muslim Organization in Sweden in how they dealt with another untalented artist who had depicted the Prophet Muhammad as a dog. Every Muslim organization in the Western world should take lessons from the Swedish Muslims in how to deal with these situations. What they did was first and foremost that they via the internet and other lines of communications informed other Muslims organizations in Europe and the Middle East that this was a local issue that called for local action, and any kind of international response or mass demonstrations would just hurt the cause and line the artists' pockets with money. They told their fellow brothers and sisters that if they truly wanted to help to deal with this situation, they would not go and demonstrate, and they would not engage in some kind of mass action. The street protests were kept on a local level, and the international protests came in the form of diplomatic protests from nations like Iran, Egypt, Pakistan, Jordan, and various international Muslim organizations. And that was that. The artist did not get worldwide fame, he was not traveling worldwide to sell his story to newspapers and schools, and he got treated as the untalented, marginal minority that he really is. And this is what these guys fear, that they will get ignored. We all know that if some neo-Nazi organization makes a movie about some Jewish takeover in Europe, they would not make the headlines. The media and entire society would ignore them, because it would be identified as a cheap attempt to get some attention and get their name out there. This is what we need to do with these people. We need to just ignore them. The protests that we engage in should be passive protests, like boycotts and debates. We should not send in angry emails, not take to the streets, and not call for any form of active action. In other words, we should not do what they want us to do. Again, I stress how important this is, and I sincerely hope that Muslims will take this argument with them to their local mosque and talk some sense into the young and passionate Muslims that want to take to the streets and, in other words, dance to the notes of the Islamophobes. What is required here is a broad change of attitude. So bring this argument up whenever and wherever you can. That's all I gotta say, and peace to all Muslims and non-Muslims alike.
We made peace a symbol of ours. In the name of peace we gather here now. Oh Lord, please make these days of ours on this earth filled with peace. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful peace. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful peace. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam.